The scene opens with a shot of Tim after an argument with his father. He sits at his computer and reaches out to his friend Brandy via instant message. We see close-up profile shots with only Tim's face in focus, so that his emotions are clearly visible. The non-diegetic text box appears in the corner of the shots as he contemplates his message. Then it cuts to Brandy's mother in a medium-long shot as she picks up her daughter's phone and reads Tim's message. As it cuts back to Tim, a pattern is established. The text box appears with a message from Brandy's mother. This continues throughout their conversation and allows viewers to see each character's reaction to the other's message. Tension builds upon Tim's fragile emotional state as Brandy's mother sends increasingly insensitive messages, fearing the idea of her daughter being involved with a boy. The tension is conveyed as the shots become shorter. It is implied that the messages are being sent more quickly and with less thought, and as the camera moves closer to the characters' faces. This pattern is broken when we see Brandy's mother typing the final climactic message. This signals the end of the conversation and emphasizes the cruelty of her message and the role she plays in the following events by associating her face with her message. We still see Tim's reaction in the next shot, but without the text box on screen, which draws more attention to his emotions. Now the action begins. The minute the pills appear on screen, we know that Tim is going to commit suicide. When the shot cuts back to Brandy's mother, it reinforces the audience's belief that it is her fault. The action following raises suspense as we wait to see if he actually succeeds. We see several close-up shots of Tim taking the pills, juxtaposed with what the other characters are doing. When we see Brandy riding her bike and then cut to a shot of Tim taking another pill, for example, suspense builds as viewers hope Brandy makes it to Tim in time to stop the suicide. This sequence is paired with non-diegetic music, while previously the only sound had been the diegetic noises of keyboards typing and cell phones buzzing. While the noises of the phone made us feel very attached to the scene, the sad music overlaying clips of Tim carrying out suicide make us feel like we have less control. Close-up shots of Tim's face and his computer screen, establishing his point of view, help us empathize with him, as we are the only ones that know what is going on at the time. When Brandy arrives at Tim's house, that quickly changes. She rushes into his room with Tim's father following, and the two find Tim passed out, established with an eye-level shot with Tim's face in focus in the background and his hands blurred in the foreground. As a result, viewers are again put in a position to empathize with Tim. Shots of Brandy's mother in the car as an ambulance, assumed to be carrying Tim, whizzes by, shows again what role her unhealthy monitoring of her daughter's internet activity has played in Tim's suicide, just before we cut to the hospital room. Here it is still uncertain if Tim will live or die. The shots are set up to make viewers feel like mere observers with no control over the situation. This is established by shots from the back, outside of the room, Brandy and Tim's father's faces and medical tubing blurred in the foreground, and the lack of Tim's face in shots serve to not assure viewers of Tim's safety. This medium shot of the three characters is shot through the window, with the borders still visible in the edges of the frame. This takes us out of the shot one last time before we figure out if Tim is alive or not. Tim's well-being is established by close-up shots of his face. We can see his eyes open and hear him speak to his father. At this point, the music is faded away, and all that can be heard is the dialogue and the beeping of the monitors. These close-up shots and diegetic noises bring us back into the shot and provide a sense of security. The rest of the scene focuses on Tim and Brandy's relationship. After the nasty messages Brandy's mother sent to Tim from Brandy's account, the well-being of their relationship is something else that needs to be addressed in the scene. It is established earlier, when she rushes to his house, that Brandy really does care deeply about Tim. In the hospital scene, it is established again for viewers, and for the first time since his attempted suicide, for Tim, when he wakes up with her head resting on his chest. The closeness of the two characters is reinforced by their closeness in the frame, and by the acting. If there is a close-up shot of Brandy, Tim is still in it, and vice versa. The expressions on the characters' faces, emphasized by these close-up shots, are rich with emotion. We hear Brandy say to Tim, "You're really beautiful, you know that?" and see Tim almost smile and shed a tear as Brandy lays her head on his chest again. The scene closes with this close-up shot of Tim and Brandy holding hands, which contrasts earlier shots of Tim's hands holding the pills. This shows that both Tim and Brandy's relationship are okay. It also shows again how close they are and how they each play important roles in each other's lives. Now let's rewind and look a little bit at mise-en-scène. Both characters are in a dark room lit by a lamp. Dark lighting and muted colors are used throughout the film, but in this scene in particular, they are used to establish the time of day. We can see that it is night because there's no light coming in from the windows, and to establish the density of the subject matter, Tim's fragile emotional state. When we look at Brandy's mother, she is characterized by the color brown. Her hair, clothing, and the furniture around her are all the same color. This color scheme goes to show the flatness of her character. The way she is dressed, in track pants with her hair pulled back, paired with the colors and furniture around her, we can tell she is middle class, living in a suburban neighborhood. This further establishes her character and the idea that she could not possibly understand what Tim is going through at the moment. Tim, on the other hand, has a broader spectrum of colors in the backdrop of his shots. There is orangish-yellow light coming from the hallway behind him and blue and green tones from his closet. This broader spectrum of colors shows a broader spectrum of emotion. The items on his desk also reveal his character. It appears averagely tidy with papers tacked up to reinforce his age as a student. There are also small trinkets like dice and figurines that convey he is younger. Juxtaposed with the pills, these pieces of his environment provide context for the scene and Tim's character. The vast differences in setting and color in the shots of Tim and Brandy's mother show how vastly different the characters are. It shows a disconnect between the two and further enhances the idea that neither of them really know the full scope of the conversation, which establishes the misunderstanding that finally launches Tim into committing suicide.